Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
That's it. Good morning, everyone. Come on. All right. My name's Neil Collins. I'm the CEO over here at SCORE. And I want to welcome you all to our general membership meeting. And I want to welcome everyone. We are streaming this live on a Google Hangout today, so everyone watching at their offices, good morning as well. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day for this. This is a valuable opportunity for us to interact with you. And today is going to be a little different. There will be a lot of opportunities to interact back and forth. So we're going to get things started right off the get-go. I'm going to introduce our president, Mr. Carl San Miguel. Come on up, Carl.
Okay, first up on the agenda, always, is the Pledge of Allegiance. Drew, would you like to come up here and lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag is over here to your left.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Drew. There was a little debate earlier on that where the pause happens in the salute of the flag. Always a debate. First off, I'd like to recognize our sponsors this morning for this general membership meeting. And they are as follows. Of course, off-price carpets. Yay! All right. Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. Yay! And they're under the Double Diamond corporate sponsors. Under Platinum corporate sponsors, we have, of course, Anthony Ventura, attorney at law, a great guy, a great defender of realtors. Bank of America, MLS Listings. Nick, I saw Nick here. There you are, Nick. I always want to say lawyers mortgage, but it's lawyers. Lovers. There you go. Lovers. Thank you. God. Mortgage team. And you are here. Shutterfly. Where's Jack? There you are, Jack. That's a great little program. That book that you put out for those homes under Shutterfly. Wall inspection, property inspections. And there you are. Very good. Did you notice the truck out there in the front? If any of you have e-waste, this is the place to take it. Make a phone call to your office if you forgot it, because if you want to dump that stuff, we got it you covered here, and it's a great opportunity to get rid of it. Hopefully you demagnetize that hard drive, though, or whatever you're bringing over, or even on the phones. I mean, gosh, we give away all that information because we forget to do that. And that's another member benefit for you that we try to ingratiate you with being a member of the SCORE Realtors. And I'm going to try not to say too many ums here this morning. We do have a program this morning, and Sam Liccardo will be joining us around 9:30. I say around because you never know exactly when they're going to show up, because they do have interests over at City Hall that they have to take care of. So, but he's going to give us a little update on San Jose. And I think next year is going to be the year of Italians. Because we have a bunch of Italians running for mayor of the city, so they're all going to duke it out. So, so we'll have there'll be a lot of food during the campaign. Good, rich Italian food. I'll remind Sam of that. Yeah. So, how's the market out there treating you? It's kind of changed a little bit. So I think the inventory, I haven't had a chance to actually run the inventory this month. Is it still close to 2,000? Anybody run it?
1948 yesterday.
1948 yesterday, when last week it was about 1975, so we're down a little bit. But that's good for buyers. Actually, it's allowing them to take a little bit more time in making that decision. And that's actually good for the listing agents too, because on a personal level, I get stressed out when I get multiple offers on a property, and the stress out that I get is I'm stressed about the buyer agents giving me the contracts and treating them right, giving them the information, giving them an answer in a timely fashion, letting them know where they are in the deal. And that takes time to do that, to go through all those contracts and present them to your seller and decide on who they're going to run with, or the many people you're going to run if it's a multiple type of a counter situation. But letting the other agents know exactly where they are is being part of being professional in this industry here. So, and it actually makes us look good in front of their clients, because now the agent knows what's going on instead of being held in the blind from standpoint on where your offer is in this process. And I think it's very, very important to always have an open dialogue with the agents that bothered to show your listing, bothered to write up that contract and represent those buyers on your listing and assisting you on making that deal. So we're all in this together. So we all have to treat each other with a great amount of respect that's deserving of our fellow realtors. So with that, I'm noticing that the open houses aren't as vibrant as they were in early summer, late spring. There's not a ton of buyers that are coming through, but it is location sensitive. There are some locations, of course, that there are all hundreds of people that come through those open houses, and there are other areas where you have less than 10. And you're a lonely agent out there on that Saturday or Sunday waiting for people to come to your property to view it. And having a time schedule for those offers to be presented. There's a kind of an old saying from standpoint of taking those offers. When do you do that? From a personal level, I like to have at least one weekend of opportunity for agents to show that, opportunity for buyers to come through, so that you don't have the risk of that seller coming back and saying you didn't give proper exposure to that listing, to the wide market. So at least get one weekend in there. Also, I've seen out there that the agents put a time period for when those offers will be reviewed. It's very important that when you do have a time period, such as 7 days later, 10 days later, whatever the case may be, that you hold to it. And if there's any chance of you changing that time that offers are going to be presented, you give at least 48 hours of that time change. At least 48 hours. And it's good to have that because you don't want to be accused of cheating the other agents out there and actually cheating your seller from standpoint of not getting everybody the opportunity to present that offer on your listing. So I'm looking for questions out there. How's the market? Do you have anything that's bugging you? Any changes you'd like to make? Oh, I would like to also mention too that we had a great event here. Was it last week? Oh, time flies. We brought back the convention to this association last week, and for those of you that participated in and took advantage of that convention, I got nothing but good quotes from our members that attended that convention. I don't think I received one complaint from anybody, and we're not shy. I mean, if you guys want to complain about something, you guys don't hold back. So, and that's good. But I didn't hear any of that. Everything was positive. So of course we're bringing this back again next year, and there may be a change of venue. It may be over in Santa Clara. Because our next year's president, by the way, I should announce the presidents that are in present here. Past presidents, Mike Stabilia, which was 2 years ago. What, right? 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. Okay, Barbara, I don't see Barbara here. She's sick? Okay. Well, we'll have to give a little shout out. Maybe she's watching. Hey, Barbara, how you feeling? Maybe she's watching the live stream there. So the other presidents, I'm not seeing. They're all gone. Okay, so I'll get back to our future president. He's a Santa Clara boy, and he's a huge 49er fan. He's a great supporter of the new stadium that is going up in Santa Clara. I had an opportunity to actually tour that stadium last week, and wow, what a stadium! I mean, every seat looks like it's a great seat, and so I don't have a box. I didn't pay for box seats there. I didn't even pay for single seat down in the up the nosebleed level. So what I'm looking for today is a friend. Anybody who has a seat at the 49ers, I'm available for anything free. I want to make that known. So if you need a buddy to come with you, hold your cup, I'm the guy. I'll be there. That's a great stadium. They have like about 169 suites just on one level. And then up on the top level, there's probably about another 139 suites. And those are nice suites they have up there. And the 49er Stadium actually is available for events. Because off-season, they have the mezzanine levels. And you could probably fit maybe a couple 300 people in those different sites within the suites areas. That's a great venue. So my understanding is that if the stadium is far enough along, I guess the installation luncheon probably, it might be there. It's kind of in play. It's about a 50-50 shot whether we will have it at the stadium or across the street in the convention center. So even if we have it in a convention center, I'm sure there'll be opportunities to go over to the stadium because we do have some really good ties with the 49ers. So it's going to be a fun year next year. It's going to be even more fun because I'm just showing up. I don't have anything to do, so that's I get to enjoy it just like you guys. So I'm looking forward to next year. And when your year starts to wane and it starts at the last couple of months, when that starts to happen when your year is over, is when the president-elect stops returning your calls. So, buddy, get in here, man. He was right there. But he is super busy guy. And I want to tell you right now that, between the both of us, we're probably going to be doing in business this year about $200 million between the both of us. I won't tell you what my part is. Because it's barely on the radar on that $200 million. So I hate to blab about you, Myron, but you're going to do some, and he's going to have a lot of money. So I know where to go to make a loan. But knowing Myron, I know that interest rate won't be cheap. But at least I'll be able to keep my knees. So you know what I'm doing right now is I'm filling time. Well, he's not Italian. So, oh, that was stringed. Okay, sorry about that. I'm just kidding. So what's bugging you out there? Everything great? Interest rates are coming back down again. Carol and Ken Fears from the NAR last week. This is a cue for something. Anyhow, last week they said we were talking about the interest rates where we're going. I was fortunate enough to have dinner with Ken the night before the convention, and we were talking about interest rates. And I posed a question to him. I said, the Feds are spending $85 billion a year buying mortgage securities. I'm sorry, a month. That's correct. Yeah, a little Freudian slip there. So $85 billion a month. And so what's the deal? Why are interest rates going up if the Feds are buying all the bonds? And you know what his answer was? I forget what his answer was. And I don't know why. And I wrote it down, but I forgot to remember to bring it. So, but I tell you, but one comment that he did make from standpoint of interest rates, it was his opinion. It was his opinion that interest rates would come back below 4%. And especially since the Fed's made their announcement they're going to keep up this $85 billion for the balance of this year, purchase per month. And probably if, what is it, Yellen, the gal who's in front line for taking the Fed Reserve Chairman's place, Bernanke, going to follow his same policy from the standpoint of keeping that going. The problem with doing that, creating those funds, is getting off of it. Eventually, we do have to get off that $85 billion of funny money buying these bonds. And when that time comes, there will be a drastic change in the interest rates. And I don't phantom or look forward to that year when that occurs, but I think we're probably good for the next 2 years. Then after 2 years, it's like anybody's guess from standpoint to where these interest rates will go. There's also this issue with Fannie and Freddie and the do-away with Fannie and Freddie. And we have to remember back in the 1930s, when Fannie and Freddie were created, prior to that, we didn't have 30-year mortgages. And it was because of Fannie and Freddie that 30-year fully amortized mortgages were created. So if Fannie and Freddie go away and they don't have a replacement, we'll be like the commercial loans, 10-year call. And you have to go out there, scramble, look for a new loan to replace the loan, the existing loan that you got, paying fees all over again. It's very expensive and very scary. Because I remember when I bought the house that I'm currently in, this was back when we had 17% interest. The seller was willing to carry the financing at 11%. And he was willing to carry it for 10 years. So we did a deal at 11 years. From the day escrow closed, I was concerned about that 10 years. And finally, when rates came down reasonably, I was able to refi, I think, after 5 years. But I worried about that every month when I made that payment. That 10-year period is going to come. So it's a scary feeling to have that early call possibility. So now, we're not going to do those now. We're doing those later, aren't we?
We'll do them now.
Oh, really? Yeah. Did you get a call from Sam? Did you run a little later? Anil, where are you? Okay, so Anil is...
He did call this morning. He's on his way.
Okay.
He's running a little bit late.
Okay.
But I think we could maybe Mike could do his portion.
Yeah, well, we'll just leave everybody in suspense. Oh, there's Sam! Hey, see, look at that. So, all I got to do is threaten that he'll buy my lunch if he's late, and gosh, he comes right through the door. So, we're on a look at it. That's great. Look at it. It's 9:28, and Sam is here for his 9:30 commitment. So I want to get at you. So I was just. And you weren't here earlier, but I was telling them earlier about we have the mayor's race next year, and this is going to be the year of Italians. So that's all. It's going to be the upper echelon. That's going to, I think, my personal opinion, that's going to be left. That's going to be running in the.
Don't forget about the food.
The food too. Yeah, Italians supply good food. So with that, Sam, we have about 45 minutes. I don't know how much time you need for that, but okay. So all right. So you have an opportunity to ask questions of Sam, but he's going to give us the lowdown on the city, this great city of San Jose that we all live in. So Sam, take it away.
Thank you, Carl, and thank you for making a little time for us. My name is Sam Liccardo. I'm a city council member here in the city of San Jose. And since I'm a politician, that means I'll do two things. I'll tell you what you already want to hear, or what I think you already want to hear, and what you already know. And so by all means, interrupt me at any time if you've heard it all already, and I'll move along. I want to just talk about a couple of subjects. One was, I know that there's a lot of inventory right now of rental that's being produced in this city. That's not your business. Your business is in the for-sale product. And you're probably wondering, what in the world's going on with the city? Why aren't people building a lot of for-sale product? And I'm sure you know more about the market than I do that justifies developer decisions, but I want you at least to understand from the city perspective in terms of development. Thank you. Why we were making the decisions we are through the general plan process, what the planning perspective is from the city, and what you can expect about where for sale inventory is likely to come from the city in the coming years. So you can just sort of have the big picture look at things. And after I run through the slides quickly, I'd be happy to talk to you more in detail about that sort of perspective the city has about where and why and how we build. Thank you. Boy, that's impressive. The other thing I'd like to talk to you a bit about is an initiative that cities typically don't have much to do with. It's around education. But I understand in your line of work that API scores matter an awful lot. And I'd love to give you at least an introduction to what we're working on right now with a few important community partners, including the Silicon Valley Education Foundation, that may have an impact, I hope, in a very positive way on home prices, because more importantly, in my view, it's going to have an impact on the achievement of our kids, particularly as we try to close the achievement gap. So let me just first start with our development patterns here in the city. And I grew up in the suburbs. Many of you probably did too if you're from the valley. That is what we are, as a suburban valley. And that has certainly been the pattern of development that has characterized nearly all of California outside of the city of San Francisco for the last century. That's my family, or I guess I'm Sicilian, so that looks more like my family, but typical suburban family. And that's, of course, what homes looked like when they were built in the 40s and 50s, and all many of us lived in. Of course, homes today look a lot different as they're under construction. And what you see now, for instance, this is the Axis Tower, this is the Centaur Tower, which just broke ground. We have 2 towers that just broke ground in downtown. And of course, the overwhelming majority of product that's being built today that you're seeing out there is mid-rise. And of course, today it's mostly rental, and I'll get to that in a moment. But you're not seeing a lot of single-family homes that look like that being constructed today in San Jose. So what exactly is going on? And part of what's going on has an awful lot to do with demographics. That is, we know what the baby boom era looked like. Lots of kids in households. So this is perhaps one perspective. Today, I guess the statistic was half of all American households at that point had kids. Today, less than a third have children in their households. And this is what the demographics look like by 2030, fewer than 1 in 4. And the demographic data is pretty consistent across most metropolitan areas. We are seeing fewer kids because for lots of reasons that we all know that are characterize the reality of our culture today. People are marrying later in life, they're having fewer children. Kids are expensive, I heard. So, and hopefully there'll be wildly successful kids like this one that is a day trader on Ameritrade, making lots of money. I stole that from the commercial, I'm sorry. So this is what our demographics are going to look like here in the Bay Area. And this is just this relatively short view to 2020. Those of you who can't see, these are the bars indicating growth of different age groups. Over 65, you see a very substantial growth. Approximately, looks like about 10,000 households. No growth here in 45 to 54. In fact, it drops a bit. These are the key years when folks have kids, right? 35 to 54. And of course, very little growth in that area. So our demographics are such that, of course, we're all getting older, and proportionately we're getting older. And the huge spike that we're seeing in folks over 55 and 65 also characterizes future household growth and what it's going to look like. That is, our households are getting smaller. So, what we know from what we're seeing out there in the market is we are rapidly transitioning from a world in the Bay Area where 57% of our homes are owner-occupied to increasingly one in which the main option choice, of course, for new households is rental. And over the next decade, what we're hearing from the Urban Land Institute is about 84% of household formation will be rental. That is the nature both of the demographics that we're seeing as well as all the obstacles that you know well about home ownership out there. The challenges of financing, certainly the demographics of folks who are wage earners, etc. So what we seem to believe about the next decade or two is that we're going to continue along this pattern. Smaller households, more rental. That does not mean those rental homes won't someday become home ownership. And let me explain what I mean by that. We are seeing in several high-rise developments that are in construction today that condo maps are being shot as development applications are being approved. So developers are anticipating there is going to be a day when this rental market plays itself out. And many of those buildings will be looking at some point, the owners of those buildings, they're typically REITs and large equity holders, are going to look to flip and go from rental back to home ownership. So, for example, on One South Market today, it's a rental product, over 300 units, 22 stories, and they have sought a condo map on that site. Some point in the future, when the market determines, you'll have a lot of condos to sell. Until then, of course, it will be dry. We're certainly seeing that in the mid-rise product as well. I'm hearing, for instance, as recently as in the last month, one high-rise developer was looking at converting an existing high-rise, and by high-rise I mean it's about 16 stories, to condo at some point in the next 4 to 5 years, because they believe the market may actually turn that quickly. You know better than I do, but that's what they think. Now, so this is what the product looks like physically. The question is, where is it going to be located? And Shirley Lewis, I know, is here in the audience, and she's spent several hours, to put it mildly, in our general plan task force. She was a co-chair with me of that effort. So Shirley, feel free to sleep through this part. I know you've heard it all before. And those are 4 years that you'll never get back, Shirley, I know. Yes. The question, of course, is where do we have room to grow in the city? And this is very broad terms, is the city of San Jose. As you can see, the gray areas are where we're built out. About 95% of the city is built out within their own growth boundary. You certainly see a lot of open space to our east and to our south, and there are lots of impediments to developing single-family housing in those regions. And I'd like to describe the rationale for some of those impediments, but a lot of those are city imposed. That is, we are trying to encourage growth along transit corridors and in the core because of the challenges of sprawl, the challenges that it creates for the city in terms of fiscal management and so forth, and I'll just describe those very briefly. In a moment, I'm sure I'll come back to that. So what we think we're hearing from the market, and certainly what developers are telling us, is households of the future do want to be closer in. We're seeing significant appreciation in neighborhoods that are closer into transit and services. That certainly seems to be a big demand for downsizing baby boomers, because we know not all of us will be driving forever. And as the population over 65 triples, it also means the population over 80 is going to increase substantially. And we need to start thinking about how we're going to develop housing in places where people can walk to services and get to transit. And of course, Generation Y has a unique set of preferences that are driven by a unique set of experiences, and increasingly they are demanding more walkable urban neighborhoods as well. And I'll skip through some of the details, but many of them are ultimately choosing an urban option over a suburban option for lots of cultural reasons, and that would be an interesting subject of discussion, I'm sure, with someone more knowledgeable than myself, but I can tell you it's certainly what I'm hearing and what the developers are telling us. So what we are seeing in terms of what's driving a lot of this demand, some of it is financial. We all know something about energy prices. There's a historical view of oil prices since 1960. Yep. And we know gas prices have since come down, but they'll be back up there soon enough, especially if things start to heat up again in Syria or elsewhere. And what we think we know about gas prices over the next decade is that they're going to rise by almost 10% annually, 3 times faster than inflation, such that by 2020, we'll be looking at $8 a gallon gas. Those costs are real as we think about housing choice, particularly location choice. And I'll get to that in just a moment. Let me also explain, if you think that your electric car will save you, and I have a hybrid electric myself, guess what? This is electric prices. So Rising prices for energy are something we are not likely to escape anytime soon. So we have to grapple with those rising energy prices as we think about transportation options. So as we look at affordability, about where people choose to live and where they can choose to live, one thing that is often overlooked when folks are thinking about rental prices and purchase prices is the cost of transportation. And what Urban Land Institute and others are telling us is that as much as 30% of a household budget in this valley is being spent on the car, on insurance, on gas, on everything related to that car. Parking, tickets, oh yes. I just paid my parking ticket last week. People think I get out of parking tickets as a council member. I think I get more. They're all very upset. Well, anyway. If you start messing with pensions, you understand parking tickets may come faster. So, this is the graph that was put together by ABAG, Association of Area Governments, and they looked at affordability of location decisions based on both housing price and transportation costs, a combination of the two. And I won't go into all the details of what the different colors mean, but as you can imagine, the most affordable places to live are in the yellow, right? And the most affordable places to live start to shrink when gas prices go from where they were in 2000 to their peak, or then peak, in 2008. You can see the yellow area shrink considerably to very dense urban areas. And similar type of phenomenon can be seen here. I think this was put together by Urban Land Institute. The green areas are where housing and transportation costs combined exceed 45% of the household income. Obviously, the great majority of our valley. We all know we're all housing poor. So the limited locations where housing and transportation costs are less than 45% of our income are the options that a typical 30-year-old is going to be able to consider, right? And those are folks who are making household formation decisions. So those areas are going to continue to shrink as transportation costs increase. And those are the kinds of costs we need to be thinking about. There's a lot of literature out there about somehow how urban living will make us healthier. I won't bore you with all the details, but you all are familiar probably with walkscore.com. I'm sure many of you actually post walk scores on your advertising properties. There's a basic phenomenon that underlines a lot of those walk scores, which is how far can you get in 1 mile of walking? And this is what a suburban pattern grid looks like. This is what an urban pattern grid looks like. And if you're trying to get to services, you're trying to get to school, you're trying to get to work, obviously an urban grid enables you to walk further with less effort. Okay. Unless, of course, there's an RV in the way, in which case you're not healthier. But what we do know is that every hour that you spend in a car each day throughout a year increases your likelihood of obesity by 6%. And we all spend way too much time in our cars. I know 98% of statistics are made up. Nonetheless, it's on the internet, so it must be true. Living in a walkable neighborhood means a 6-foot-tall man on average weighs 10 pounds less. And for ladies, it's 6 pounds less. And here's one that really kind of stumped me. As you think about it, your own risk of being overweight drops if your neighbors walk to work. Don't even try to explain that one. Okay, so what's really driving the concerns from City Hall? Well, it really has to do with our fiscal situation. For those of you who live in the city of San Jose, you probably know this already. Your city is broke. I know, it's news to you. The good news is many of our suburban neighbors are fabulously wealthy, so they'll be fine. But large cities throughout the country, of course, are severely constrained. So as we where development happens, here are some considerations that go through our minds. These are actually old numbers from 2008, but they do illustrate the point of where we generate revenue and how we generate revenue. Per acre, a high-rise tower gets us a whole lot more tax revenue, right, than a single-family home. So that's part of what animates thinking of folks in our position who are thinking about how and where to develop. And here's the other side of it, the revenue side. Now here's the cost side. We think about all the costs that are involved in serving outlying neighborhoods. A lot of infrastructure, a lot of police and fire response, sewers, all of those services cost each one of you money, right, as taxpayers. And as we think about how we can most efficiently serve the city, we recognize that denser development is much more efficient. One study, up to $7,000 per year per home in general fund savings by focusing housing development in close rather than in sprawl, as much as 40% of public service costs. So for the broke cities of the state, and most of them are broke, by the way, this is a primary consideration. How do we serve a city, a community fiscally, as we're all tightening our belts and thinking about future development? So there are also concerns about the future of this valley. And many of you, as you drive up 101 and 280, you see all those buses with Yahoo and Google slogans on the side. 35,000 San Franciscans are transported on corporate buses from San Francisco to campuses somewhere in Silicon Valley. Day. To give you a sense of perspective, Caltrain is now hitting its peak ridership, and they're transporting, I think, in the high 40s, 48,000. So we've got a corporate bus system that competes with our highest demand public transit system for getting folks from San Francisco to the valley. Google, if it had its own public fleet, if we were counted among the 31 transit systems we have in the Bay Area, they would be the 8th largest. Question is, how long are companies going to continue to spend tens of millions of dollars to transport talented people from urban environments to suburban campuses if those people decide they actually don't want to choose to live in those suburban environments? What we're seeing as we think of social media boom in San Francisco, all those shuttles and buses, expansion, not just in San Francisco, but in urban environments like Austin, Manhattan, Chicago, of a lot of innovative tech companies that may have started here, but they're growing elsewhere, is that increasingly the valley is going to need to have an urban option for young, talented people to live in. And if we do not offer that urban option, our jobs will go elsewhere. I'm not suggesting for a moment we start bulldozing wonderful single-family homes that we have throughout this valley. We'll preserve them all. But we need to think seriously about how we create an urban option for the young talent that drives innovation in so many of our companies. Because what we hear overwhelmingly in survey after survey is that young talented people who are graduating from the top business schools, engineering schools, design schools, they choose where they want to live before they choose who they want to work for. So what they're telling us is they don't want to live here. This is not their option. What they want is more vibrant urban creative communities like this, which, by the way, all these photos are taken from San Jose. That's good news. We've got seeds of this happening in different parts of our city. Certainly you see it in Santana Row, though I hate to admit it since I represent the downtown. Obviously, we're starting to see some things happen around San Pedro River Market in the downtown as well, and several high-rise developments there, and hopefully along North First and other corridors. But if we want to keep the talent here and grow talent here, we need an urban option. And so that has certainly driven a lot of concern around how we're going to develop housing in the future. I'll skip some of these other slides because I think they may draw us a bit further off. But one thing that's really important is what we're seeing more and more is when we assess in surveys levels of community attachment, and these were surveys that were done in 2 different periods over the last decade by Gallup. They surveyed 26 different communities throughout the country. And what they observed was very suburban communities had very low levels of community attachment. People just don't care that much about where they live if they don't feel like they are deeply engaged in a public community where they have public spaces, opportunities to engage with other human beings. And where the economic growth seems to follow is increasingly in those areas where there's high levels of community attachment. So as we think about the urban option and how we're going to build it, it comes back to our general plan in the city of San Jose. As we're trying to think about our economy, our fiscal challenges, our ability to attract talent, and certainly our ability to house households that are shrinking in size, demographics are changing rapidly, you're going to see more and more development along North First Street, in North San Jose. In the downtown core, along key transit corridors like Stevens Creek and West San Carlos. You're going to see significantly less emphasis on development in outlying areas. That will certainly be the case for the next 2 decades. Beyond that, I can't predict. But the good news is if we stick to that plan, you'll see a lot less growth of traffic on 101 and 280 and 87 as you're trying to get to work, because after all, this is fundamentally about getting folks into places that are closer to their workplace, closer to transit, and out of automobiles, because we simply cannot build freeways fast enough to accommodate the traffic that we expect to continue to grow here in the valley. So that's sort of the vision. And I wanted you to at least be aware of the thinking in the city of San Jose. I'd be very interested in your thoughts, because I know you're out there on the street with real customers, real buyers, real sellers. And I'd be very interested in knowing whether what we're seeing actually comports with what you're seeing and hearing. So thank you very much for your time, and I'd be happy to hear your comments, questions, observations.
All right, I have some comments and questions. And actually, I'm very impressed with your presentation, Sam. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Bringing this forward. There's some scary stuff in there.
Yeah.
The one thing that really frightened me the most was the prediction that the ratio of homeowners versus tenants was 84% tenants versus homeowners. And that is frightening from a couple of standpoints.
Yeah. Can I clarify that a bit? Because I understand that the number's frightening if it's considered in the aggregate.
Right.
I think they're talking about new households.
Okay.
So all those folks who are currently in single-family homes, they stay where they are.
Right.
Nobody's driving them out.
Yeah.
The idea is new household formation. So.
Okay. All right. That's good clarification. But still, at the same time, and you mentioned we have about a 57% ratio currently from homeowner to tenant.
Bay Area wide, which is lower than the national.
Oh, not San
average.
Jose, just Bay Area?
Bay Area wide.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, because, in some city like Campbell, it's like a 50-50.
Right.
So that ratio, when it exceeds the 50-50 mark and you have an abundance of tenants versus homeowners, I think you have what you develop then as a them against us attitude, because the tenants are at the mercy of the landlords.
Yeah.
You'll have a great amount of pressure for individuals, like a rent control to be in place. And rent control to me is counterintuitive, because it gives less incentive for developers to develop rental housing if there's controls on that, because the housing costs of those are not the same. They're not the same. San Jose is considering a $10 per square foot cost for housing. Yeah, it's not done yet. But that's frightening too, the $10. $10 per square foot, you have a 3,000 square foot house, that's $30,000 added to the cost of the housing. So these are issues that we're concerned on affordability. We're always keen on that.
Carl, who gave you that $10 number?
Well, that's been published in the Mercury News. That's up to $10. Not saying that it is $10. You guys are still kind of dealing with it, and who knows where it'll be.
Yeah.
But I think $10 is the price that they've kind of thrown out there, and it certainly got me excited because I have a project. That's $30,000 on a 3,000 square foot home. In addition to all the other impact fees, these impact fees really add to the less affordability of housing as they accumulate. So those impact fees have really got to be addressed in the city of San Jose and throughout the county. So this is a great presentation. That's one thing. You mentioned about the youth and where they're going. And this afternoon I'm going to San Francisco. My kid lives there, and I love going to visit her because we can walk out our door in the Nob Hill area of San Francisco and many restaurants. It's fun to walk. You don't have to hassle with your car because it's a hassle to find a parking spot in San Francisco. So anyhow, the reason why she loves San Francisco is because of the different neighborhoods. And we have an opportunity here. You got the Italian Festival, which just happened earlier this month, and that's a great location. That's to be developed, and they're kind of struggling to get that forward. But communities like that throughout make it interesting and make people live downtown and be involved with their community if there's exciting things to be involved with. So but there's a question in here somewhere.
The answer is yes.
Yeah. So I'll open this up to anybody else because we do have some time. Now's the time to point your questions to Sam. Here we go.
Very general question. Why is San Jose broke?
Okay, general question. Why is San Jose broke?
That's what you started by saying.
Yes.
For
Yeah, what's wrong with us?
That's a long answer.
Out loud. We're a wealthy community.
Yes, but why?
One of the wealthiest in the world. Okay, so here is the 60-second primer on municipal finance. Your city is broke. People, companies that employ people provide more net revenue to cities than they receive in services. Okay, we love Cisco. They pay lots of property tax. They pay lots of utility tax. All those taxes, right? And there aren't a lot of police or fire calls to the Cisco campus. Okay, so we get that basic concept. So huge net gain when you have big employers. Residents, contrary to what all of you, I'm sure, firmly believe, provide less in tax revenue to cities than we provide in services. And you say, well, what about this ridiculous property tax and everything else we pay? And the answer is, lots of people get it. We get about 9% of your property tax revenue. You're now paying a little over 8 3/4 cent sales tax. We get 1 penny. So all those other dollars go to school districts and counties and VTA and the state, and we get a small share of that. But we are the primary provider of services, right, for folks living in cities, right? So residents are net drain on the general fund, employers net gain. That's not a very good thing to convey to residents who are voters because after a while they start to resent you for saying things like that. But it's the truth, right? Well, guess what? We have the lowest ratio of jobs to employed residents of any major city among the top 40 in the country. We are the only city among the top 25 in the country that has a smaller daytime population than nighttime population. What does that mean? We're providing lots of services to 1 million residents, and by comparison, the number of jobs we have is relatively low. And you say, well, wait a minute, we've got eBay, we've got Cisco. Those are great companies, be sure. But you look at all the employers that are around us in neighboring cities, you'll see a jobs to housing ratio of 3.1 or higher in cities like Santa Clara and Palo Alto. The ratio in the city of San Jose is 0.82. So what all that means is the revenues go to those wealthier suburbs, the rich get richer, the cities, the inner cities tend to bear the burden of providing services, and guess what? The services we provide are more costly, right? Because all inner cities, all big cities tend to have more crime, more need, right? We tend to have higher percentage of folks who are living in poverty, et cetera. So this is a tale that's told in large cities throughout the country, but it's particularly acute here because we are the bedroom community for a valley that relies on us to provide their workers. And I've been working very hard to try to be a good partner with our partners in this valley to see how we can more equitably distribute jobs in this valley. Those are difficult conversations, but our number one task is getting more jobs here. I think we're going to have a big announcement in the next few weeks about a large tenant in North San Jose. I think that'll be good news. We'll have announcements about 2 significant tech companies moving into downtown in the next 2 to 3 weeks as well. So we're starting to get traction, but we got a long way to go. But that's one story about why we're broke. There are other stories too. I won't bore you with all the pensions and everything else because you heard all that before. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the other day I was coming up from Morgan Hill to San Jose, and as I was going 101, I saw a sign for entering the city of San Jose. I looked at both sides, and all I saw was just weeds, right? Okay, so if that's
You're on the freeway?
Yeah, 101.
Okay, good. I can blame somebody else. It's Caltrain. It's out of your district.
Okay, so I'm driving north San Jose, and I see all this land here, like a golf course here, and weeds here, and all that. So my question is that if we have so much land down between Morgan Hill and San Jose that's there, why are we focusing our development so much along the first corridor north of San Jose for the urban sprawl? So, tell me why,
Everybody hear that question?
No.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
what's not going
Well, the question basically is the urban sprawl, and you see a lot of open space in South San Jose. They're concentrating in the North San Jose.
Yeah.
Why aren't you spreading it out to those vacant land areas? Is that basically your question?
Yeah, you got a good number.
Okay.
So the reason why development is focused increasingly in the core and along North First Street is that is where the transit infrastructure is. We, meaning you, invested $1.5 billion on a light rail system that still transports people past empty lots and single-story structures. That is a horrible way to run a transit system, and it will always lose money, and it's a horrible way to develop. So if you're going to develop a lot of density, you want to start where the transit is. As we start to go further and further south, now you're starting to stretch a lot of city resources, right? Police, fire, everybody else who has to respond to more and more distant locations. So that creates more stress fiscally on the city. So those are just a couple reasons why you're not seeing a lot of development down there. It is, and obviously it's very site specific. I couldn't tell you, depends on which site we're talking about, but there are particular sites where we're discouraging a lot of housing development. People can still develop relatively low density. Sure.
Okay.
At 85 in Caldwell Road, do you know what that development is there?
You were
By the
on
old
IBM?
Yeah, do you know what that is?
Yes. You know what? There are a couple sites there, and I'm going to get it wrong if I tell you, so I better not. But I'd be happy to get back to you. Can I give you a card? And yes, and then I'll tell you exactly what it is.
I have one more question.
Okay.
South of, on Santa Teresa, there was talk of Cisco coming down there, several years ago. Do you know if that ever is going to actually develop there?
You're talking about North Coyote.
Yes.
Yeah, and so Cisco won't be. We're certain of that. The question is who will be, and I'd venture to guess it would be a long time. There's nothing prohibiting anyone from doing it. They're open to build industrial or research and development or office in that location. That is, they have the entitlements to do it. But we've got a lot of vacancy here in North San Jose. We've got vacancy downtown. You need to see a lot of saturation in the market before you start to see folks moving that far south. Overwhelmingly, you all know this if you're talking to friends on the commercial and office side, the market has been incredibly red hot to our north, tends to follow the Caltrain line, and we're just only starting to get some of that heat now. So it's going to be a while before it gets that far south. It would be a remarkable boom.
You said
something about doing something with the schools to make them better, what have you.
Yeah.
What were you saying? Because
Thank you.
essentially what you're saying is in downtown San Jose, a lot of people, they really don't want to go there because the school districts in certain areas not doing all the great. So
Okay, everybody hear that
bring
question?
somebody there.
Yeah,
It's in reference to the school districts and what the city can do to enhance their
right.
API.
Yeah, I recognize that's a key determinant for a lot of your customers, your clients. So you all know cities don't run schools, at least most cities don't, and that's a good thing because frankly there's enough politics in schools already. We have a challenge, of course, in the city because we have 19 school districts in the city of San Jose, with 19 superintendents and 19 school boards, and it's pretty tough sometimes to figure out who exactly is in charge of education. And the short answer is everybody is. What the city can do, I think, to partner with school districts may be really largely around a convening role, and that is to help build out infrastructure, digital infrastructure, wireless, to start to see how we can help school districts transition to new educational models that have been very, very successful. We're seeing in some small districts, urban districts, and in a lot of charter schools in particular, where they are integrating technology, what's called blended learning, to do things like extend a school day without actually extending the amount of time teachers are teaching. And the way they do it is with individualized instruction with a computer, right? Children are playing, many of you have heard of Khan Academy and many of the great forms of educational software that are out there. Kids are engaging more and more in many schools for an hour, hour and a half in learning labs with software that is very focused on ascertaining how the child is doing with each particular step of their process in trying to learn algebra, for example. Teacher gets that data immediately, is able to understand where a child is learning, where they're struggling, and they can focus lesson plans and teaching to particular groups. We're seeing test scores are going off the charts in several charter schools that are implementing what we call blended learning in some of the poorest neighborhoods in the city. In Rocketship Elementary, which is in the southern part of my district, in a neighborhood that is about 95% Latino, almost all the kids qualify for subsidized lunch. Their test scores within 2 years are on par with Palo Alto Unified. And they're doing it because the kids are hustling. Everybody's working harder. It's an extended school day, but they're able to incorporate learning labs with this blended learning model in incorporating technology. What's the big obstacle? Schools don't have the money. They don't have the wireless infrastructure. They don't have the devices. The good news is the devices are incredibly cheap now. We're getting devices as cheap as $35, $40 per person. But you've got to get the infrastructure in place. So the notion is this. We're working with the Silicon Valley Education Foundation, a group of schools on the east side, about how we might go out for a bond measure next year. Ask all the school districts to put on hold some of the big plans for bond measures for pools and gymnasiums and everything else that they're building and just say, look, let's do this around technology. So we're going to start with a coalition of the willing. Those superintendents are willing to jump in. And we've got 8 superintendents on the east side that are very interested. And the vision is seeing how we can drive this on the east side first and ultimately citywide. My vision is very simple. I want to make San Jose the first city in the country with an extended school day. And you can imagine if every parent knew that their child was in a safe place until 4:30 or 5 every evening. You can imagine how many happy parents you have, how many happy employers you have because their parents aren't dashing out of work to go fetch kids. And most importantly, how many kids' futures you've impacted with improved achievement. Now, technology is not a magic pill. We know that. It has to be implemented and utilized well. And it's got to be integrated carefully and slowly. But we want to start where we know the need is greatest on the east side, and we're hoping we can scale this. So we may be coming back to talk to you next year about this concept as it becomes more public. We're doing studies now with consultants to try to figure out what the cost is going to be, how we can make it happen. And hopefully, if this starts to look like it has some traction, we've got a lot of tech companies who are very interested in this. We may be coming back to you because we want you to help us get the word out. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you for that. Over here.
This question for you. What, do you have any plan of any economic meeting for all these corporate people? Follow up or to move out their corporate office to South San Jose so we get more beneficial for us living in San Jose and more corporate. Like I live in South San Jose. My DP is there. Some of the companies are there. Even there, in South San Jose, there's Silver Creek.
Yes.
Now, it seems there was a hold on Cisco and the Peoria of moving their corporate office and manufacturing in South San Jose. So, do you have any plans this year before the election to talk to them, to have economic meeting with them, to have economic growth besides South San Jose?
Did you all hear the question over there?
Yeah, we're going to be meeting,
Go ahead.
are we going to be convening meetings with large tech employers to our north and start to encourage them to move into South San Jose?
When would that be? And that we so is the effectiveness of our residential sales there to be us rather than
Yes.
just
To help.
follow up or what's that? Because the prices there is very reasonable for all these young students who do graduating. So the thing is when you mentioned that they choose the newly the larger league where there is big brands and communities and all that. I think they'd rather live where they could get a job rather than to choose where to live. Am I right?
There's no question employment drives residential location. You're absolutely right about that. So I meet with employers all the time, and we are constantly pitching San Jose. And as I say, I think we'll have some good news to announce in the coming weeks, particularly about a tenant for 2 million square feet in North San Jose, as a matter of fact. But I want, and I can tell you as recently as 8 o'clock this morning, I met with an employer of a very promising startup that's currently located in Mountain View, because I said, hey, you're going to be scaling soon. We're actually a customer of his. He's got a very innovative green technology that helps us understand using data analytics, how to improve energy efficiency in buildings. What's it going to take to get you in San Jose? We'll find you some office space. It'll be a lot cheaper than the $6 a square foot you're paying up there. Why don't you move? His answer is very simple. I need to get coders and software folks, and they need access from the north on the Caltrain line. And right now, they're all living to the north of us. So that is a primary concern. And another primary concern is where their funding is coming from, and often it's Sand Hill Road, or it's they're in partnership with folks over at the Moffett Park and so forth. And so they need to be close to where the VCs are. So these are all many considerations that CEOs are thinking about as they're thinking about location decisions. I guess what I want to emphasize is our economic development path is really not going to be so much about getting folks to move their headquarters. We look at job growth in this valley over the last 5 years. 95% of the job growth did not come from new companies moving in or starting up. It came from existing companies that were scaling, that were growing. Our path in employment growth has got to be focusing on ensuring that the current employers who are here are growing here rather than growing in Austin, rather than growing in San Francisco or somewhere else. And so that, it seems to me, is the easiest touch point for us because they're already here. So we need to make it easier for them to grow here. But you're right, I will continue to make those pitches. I can tell you they're bored of meeting with me.
In addition to another question, I believe you have anything in common with all the universities, the new branch, I believe you have to visit them and you need to talk to them and be more influential. That I attended the emerging market in San Francisco at the city council, and all these young people who have been there from they are starting up their company in Singapore, Taiwan, and all this.
Sure.
So what I think is like we need to be more stronger and be more influential to these young graduates, not to start up their company other countries, you know. And starting here where they graduate, they should utilize what they acquired as a, that all these diplomas, expertise, they have all the MBAs, and why this is the other country.
I agree, but I can tell you, they hear enough from politicians like me. I make the pitch all the time, but the most persuasive way of encouraging a young, talented, tech-minded person to choose San Jose is with that. It's not going to be with me. And so it's really about what we do and much more than what we say.
Okay, so yes. So we're at the end of our time segment here for Sam, and he does have other commitments, and so we have to cut it off here. And I know you're going to be running for something very soon.
Yes.
So thank you, Sam, for taking the time out to be with us this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't miss a photo.
Say cheese.
Oh, go like this.
All righty, one more. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. All right. That was great. Appreciate that. And Sam was pitch hitting for Zoe, too, who was supposed to be here also. So we appreciate their comments and his insight with City of San Jose. Here at SCORE, we have our directors, about 19 of them, officers and directors. We also have CAR, California Association of Realtor Directors, and of course NAR directors, which we're committed to 2. But on the CAR side, we have about 35 directors. And of those directors, we have what we call regional chair, and that's the person who is responsible for our region, which happens to be our association. There are some associations that have multiple associations in a region, or kind of like San Francisco. It's a city and a county. Same thing here for Santa Fe County Association of Realtors. We have our Region 19, which is our association, and it becomes a region also. And I say all this preview information because our next individual is going to be coming up here with us to give you a little more information, statewide and national, is our regional chair, and that is Mike Sibilia, who was president 2 years ago. So Mike? Test. This one?
That's perfect.
This one?
That's great. Yeah. Good morning.
Okay, let's try this one here. This one? Okay, there you go.
Good morning. Every time I come to a meeting, I learn something. And this meeting, I learned something about our president regarding the 49ers, and that is he's extremely cheap. So anyway, I wanted to discuss NAR and CAR and give you an update. Actually, the meetings for CAR and NAR are coming up in the next month. And when we have our next membership meeting, which will be November 15th, I'll be able to give you the updated information. But I wanted to share with you a couple things that are taking place right now. And I'll start off with the CAR. CAR convention is going to be in Long Beach, and it's going to be open again to our members to come down and take a look at CAR. And it's the October 9th through the 12th. And it's free. You can get on to car.org and register. But there's a couple issues, a couple things that we're looking at right now. The state of California legislature adjourned on Thursday, the 12th of this month. So any measures that haven't been voted on are now dead. Nothing can be done. Nothing can be done until they convene next year. And those are the measures that are just for this year. There are other legislative measures that are called two-year measures, and they are, when it convenes next year, they'll be able to vote on those. And the key thing, the measure that we see right now in the forefront is the SB 30, which is the debt forgiveness, which is Sacramento's version of anyone that lost a home or a short sale. IRS, the federal government has forgiven the debt, but the state has not acted yet. So the state needs to and look for some information coming from our board as well as the CAR, that we need to get Sacramento to vote on this by April 14th of next year, so that the 2013 tax year, people that have lost their homes will be able to take advantage of the debt forgiveness. Now, any measures that have been voted on by Sacramento needs to be they're sent to the governor, and he needs to act by October 13th to either sign and approve or veto. So that's what's going on the state. Also, the affordability report was just released a couple weeks ago, and the percentage of home buyers that could afford to buy a medium price existing single-family home in California dropped to 36% in the second quarter of this year, down from 44% in the first quarter, and from 51% in the second quarter of last year. So you see the trend is going down. And that's according to CAR's Housing Affordability Index. The second quarter of 2013 fell well below 40% for the first time since the third quarter of 2008. So that's pretty important there. By the way, Santa Clara County's affordability index is at 24%. To give you an idea there. So that's it for the state. And again, we'll have updates for you after our meetings take place in a couple of weeks. Regarding National Association of Realtors, I'd like you to consider taking advantage of the NAR convention, which is going to be in our backyard in San Francisco coming in November. And that's the November 8th through the 11th in San Francisco. Registration, you can go online to realtor.org. It's not free. The cost for the expo is $25. A single session is $50, but for the whole number of days would be full access of $400. There'll be keynote speakers. This year, I think Hillary Clinton will be one of the keynote speakers there. So mark that down if you could, if you have the time, it'd be very worthwhile to go. A couple things happening regarding from a federal level, dual agency. Now the dual agency regarding the HUD was looking to eliminate dual agency on short sales. And what NAR was successful in persuading HUD to back off a little bit and give a temporary reprieve from the dual agency agreements and FHA short sale agreements. It's intended to give time so that NAR can negotiate with HUD and work out some sort of compromise and a permanent agreement on how to treat dual agency. And it took a lot of lobbying effort on the part of NAR to get where we're at right now. So we'll find out what's going on in the future. Pending home sales for the nation down in August. Pending home sales slowed, tight inventory conditions, higher interest rates, rising home prices, and continuing restrictive mortgage credit impacting the market. This is all according to NAR. That's the reasoning why that's happening. Another important issue is this flood insurance. The Senate's working on a passage of the bill, Bigger Waters Act. And what that's going to do is phase out some of the subsidized insurance rates, which will affect about 20% of the people that have flood insurance right now. So it'll affect potential buyers as well as existing owners. NAR is urging Congress to delay the rate increases until FEMA submits its congressional mandated report on the affordability. And in the meantime, look for some information from NAR to make sure that we educate our current property owners that fit within the flood insurance areas as well as potential buyers what to expect in the future, which could happen. And there's language that on realtor.org that is information that we should be giving to our potential buyers that are looking at property in flood control areas. So any questions at all regarding CR or NAR? Look for a more detailed report at our next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Mike, you know that that flood insurance is a big deal. We heard comments from one area of the country where the flood insurance premium went from $2,800 a year to $10,000 a year. So I'm not saying it's going to do that here, but it's an issue that we're keen on, we're watching, and we're concerned about because the rate of that flood insurance dictates what the value of that property is. Buyers are not going to buy a house that's on a floodplain. Backyard to a creek, you're going to have a lot of trouble. I had a house I sold in Orinda, creek, backyard, flood zone. I was praying that they wouldn't change those rates before. And actually, the rate on that flood insurance was like $1,900 a month, excuse me, a year. And the guy who bought it actually paid cash. So the flood insurance wasn't an issue because there's no financing. Because you have a choice whether you want to have it or not. But if you have financing, it's mandatory that you have it. You can't get the loan. Matter of fact, if people own homes that are in a floodplain and that insurance does go up to that level and you can't afford it, the lender's got to call the loan. Or they have to put it on themselves, which means your payment goes up. You can't afford it. Big problem. Very big problem. We're very much aware of it. We're on it. And we fought for years. Every year we had to deal with extending that flood insurance on a yearly basis. And we always complain, why do we have to go through this every year? Finally, they did a 5-year. But now we've got this issue with the flood insurance going up. But I'm going overboard here. Okay, so not get wild. So, okay, so next up on our agenda is, we can do that? Okay. Yeah. All right, so put this down here. We have a couple, I alluded to our convention that we had, was it last week?
Last Thursday.
Week, it's not only is it a fun event to go to, but there's a possibility that you will be enhanced with rewards. And we have 3 individuals that were just indeed that. They were enhanced with rewards. And the 3 individuals, oh, here it is. Okay, so we'll go 3rd place winner first. Wing Lin. Where are you? Hey! All right. Now, what he got, this is a note for Wing and I.
Okay.
We're going to do 50-50 on this.
Sure, yeah.
I get the first 6 months.
Sure.
But this is a great, they actually made improvements to this note.
Thank you.
And
And will you stand here so we can get a photo up of all 3 of them?
another photo. Okay, here we go. And you're the right height, too. Okay, so. Yeah, right here. Where's the camera? Right there. Right next to me, a photo of you and Jared. There you go.
Let me show it.
There it is. Got it, Joe? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for participating in that convention. And I know I'll see you next year for the upgrade in the Nook next year. Okay, second up, Catherine Walker, my buddy. Hey, you also are the recipient of a nice little Nook. And our 50-50 on the second 6 months. It's a great little reader and a computer. And she wore her platform high heels to boot. I don't know why she didn't call me. What, I look better from a distance? Is that it, Julie? Yeah, right. Thank you, Catherine. Okay, so now we do have a grand prize winner of a 37-inch flat screen TV, and that individual is Mr. Ron Kuhneman. Where are you, Ron? You were sitting over there. There you are. You moved on me. So, how are we going to do? You get on the other end? I don't know. Let's see. Well, why don't you just set it right there in front, and Julie will take that.
It's not that
It's not that heavy? Look at you. Got it lifting up there. Okay, so should we lift it up a little bit?
Yeah, let's lift it up.
There we go. All right, you got it? One more? Good. All right, congratulations, Ron. You're a lucky man here. Hook up your computer to that so you can see it. All right. Okay, so we have had here at the association our philanthropic side to this association, where we go out to the community and seek out events and programs that enhance our communities that we work in. And this year, our chairman of the Santa Clara County Association of Realtors Foundation is Tricia Motter, and she's going to give you a little update of what we've done this year and what we're still continuing to do. And I forgot to mention when Sam was here that we actually had that little partnership with him in the Christmas in the Park. So, Tricia.
All right. Thank you so much, Carl. And Neil, can I have you help connect here?
Oh, I'm sorry. You need that mic, don't you?
Actually, I do as well.
Yeah. Test. Okay, here we go.
All right. Thank you so much. Neil's going to get the connection for the iPad here. So how many of you have actually attended any of the Santa Clara County Realtors Foundation events, such as our chili cook-off, golf tournaments, RSVP? Raise your hands. Great. Glad to see a great amount of you. So with the Santa Clara County Realtors Foundation, we are a 501c3. We are the charitable arm of SCORE. And we have been very blessed to have so many of our members that have been able to donate and volunteer to this cause. And let's see here, we'll get started on the slide here. So this is our logo that you may have seen around at many of our events. And our main mission that we have is to bring organized real estate professionals together. Let's see here. All right, so we should be good. Or to bring our organized real estate professionals together with communities by investing in our neighborhoods with compassion, foresight, and action. And I guess we're having some technical difficulties about that. Sorry, guys. All right.
I had nothing to do with it.
I know, Carl. I know. All right, and with the foundation, it was actually created in 1991 by our realtor members. And Carl, actually, you were one of the founders and helped to create the foundation, so thank you so much. Since its existence, we have been able to donate in excess of over $350,000 to a variety of local charitable organizations throughout the community. So what we do, the Santa Clara County Realtors Foundation provides an avenue for organized real estate to collect funds and other direct assistance where it's most needed back into the communities that we serve. We work to create a strong community, connect those who care with those making a difference, and support housing issues over the long term. Some of those that we support are housing, education, communities, social services, and disaster relief. How we can help and how you can help. We have a donation available in the membership dues. You'll see a little item in there where you can have that contribution to the SCCR Foundation. Please include that in your dues. That really helps out the organization so we can keep giving back to the community. We also have the box over there by Tracy. Wave your hand, Tracy, over there. So you'll see our donation box in the library that we normally have here at SCORE. And also we have it at many of our events that we have, such as the Chili Cook-Off Foundation events that we have throughout the year. Also, you can mail a donation here to the office on First Street. And also you can include the SCCR Foundation in your will, estate, or trust, or you can volunteer the time. We have many great members of SCORE that have not only donated their time, but also donated in contributions over the past year. So we thank you, those that have. We really appreciate it, and without you guys, we want to be able to continue making a difference in the community. So what we've had for contributions and projects for this year, we've had donated to the Boys and Girls Club, San Jose Day Nursery, Realtor Service Volunteer Program, the Jeffrey Fontana Memorial Park, Sacred Heart Community, Housing Trust of Silicon Valley, California Community Partners for Youth, Toys for Tots, and Christmas in the Park. So a little bit about some of the highlighted programs. Many of you have heard of Boys and Girls Club. One of the most recent ones that just came to us was the San Jose Day. many great chefs, different types of chili, and a great time that we had from a lot of our SCORE members. And we were able to raise over $4,000 for the foundation for that. And that's an annual event that you can look for every year. Also, what we have upcoming, many of you received a flyer for the SCCR Foundation Pumpkin Auction Fundraiser. We have over 80 pumpkins that we have donated and provided from teachers and students from the Catherine Smith Elementary School and also from our own SCORE members. So if this is something that you're interested in donating a pumpkin or helping out with it, please email Alma at score.com. Her information is at the bottom of the flyer. So please reserve the event on October 23rd. We will have it from 8 to 10 at the BJ's Restaurant on Blossom Hill Road in San Jose. So that's one you're not going to want to miss. Also, we have our partnership with Shutterfly, as you saw the little table in the back of some great brochures. The books are amazing, and it's a great idea, especially if you're in the luxury market, to have a picture book of all the different rooms of the property and have featured at open house or laying on the kitchen counter when we have people come by. So we partnered with Shutterfly to help not only grow your business, but anytime that you go through shutterfly.com/score, 10% of those proceeds go back to the foundation. So always remember to go to shutterfly.com/score, and those donations go straight to the foundation. And also, we have created the SCORE Foundation Facebook page. So you can go to facebook.com/SCORE Foundation. You can see what we have upcoming in events, what we've recently, how we've connected to the community, recent events that we've done, such as any kind of pictures, how much we've donated, how you can help. So please also, we visit the scorefoundation.com. You can visit the website to make a donation. We have a simple donation button there as well. And if you know of any organization that is in need of assistance or in need of a grant or help, we also have to the left-hand side who we support. When you click on View More, they can fill out a grant application and it goes straight to us for review. So if you know of anyone that is any organization that is in need, definitely let them know. So I'd like to leave you guys with the last and final thought is a great quote from Winston Churchill. We make a living by what we get, and we make a life by what we give. So we thank those of you that have been giving to this organization and made it to what it is today. And we look forward to the continued success and growth for the next coming years with you guys. And thank you again. Carl?
Whoa, all right. Okay, so they quieted my mic because they heard me in the background there, I guess, didn't you? Yeah. I forgot to turn it off. Tricia, never disappointed. Doesn't she do a great job? Oh, man. You know, she's my twin. With hair.
You're the younger one.
I'm the younger one. You know, we do have, we're about coming to our close of this morning's general meeting, but I want to alert you to your emails starting today. And that is every year we have an election. And that election is of our new directors and officers of this association. So by the time you get back to your office today, you'll probably have an email sitting on your computer, or if you have it on your phone, you'll have it there, and you'll have an opportunity to give your blessing for the individuals that have stepped forward and committed to this association and to you to help lead. And those individuals that you will be looking at will be for President-elect Craig Gorman, Vice President Gustavo Gonzalez. I call him Gigi. He hates that. Okay, Secretary Treasurer, you know, Tricia did such a great job managing the foundation that we decided to make her treasurer, the keeper of the purse, to bring her forward for your blessing and to confirm her position as treasurer of this association. In addition to the officers, we also have directors that will be serving for a 3-year term period, one of which is me. Once you're president, they would like you to stick around to be a director for another 3 years after that. So I have submitted my name, and the nominating committee Wise decided to put me forward for it. So also we have another individual, Michael Bowie. I like that last name, Bowie. That's a fun name. Hey, Bowie. So that's what I call him. I don't call him Michael. Hey, Bowie, come over here. All right, so William Shea is another individual that will be joining us as a new director. And Michael D'Ambrosio, he's not here, the other Italian in this group. Bradley Gill, who was very active on the YPN, that's Young Professional Thinkers. I didn't say stinkers, I said thinkers. So network, I know, I changed it because, that's kind of like a misnomer, YPN, Young Professional Network. Hey, it's a state of mind. An old guy like me, I frequently go to their events when they're giving free stuff. So, I was outed early, out of myself. Right, Mike? I'm cheap. Okay, so, but I'm an expensive cheap. You've got to give me expensive stuff, none of this cheap stuff. All right, Stephen Thier. Now, he, and I probably brutalized his last name. What is it? Thayard. Okay, thank you for that. Thayard, Stephen, is our representative from South County. And so he serves, actually, he's the only one that serves a one-year term as a director, and he's actually the president-elect next year for South County. That's correct? Correct. Yeah. So then the following year, then he's president. So, so those are the individuals you will have the opportunity to give that little affirmative to, or not. If you know them individually and you had a bad deal, I guess you're going to say no. So, but I don't think any of these guys you had a bad deal with. So they're all upstanding citizens of this state and county. So with that, was there anything I left out, Allison? Is that everything? Okay. Sometimes I like to pontificate. So anyhow, so with that, we're about 14 minutes before the end of the hour to be 11 o'clock. This was set for 11. And unless you have any questions, yeah. Yeah, they're all set up over here, and that Shutterfly, that's a great deal, Jack. That book. I mean, it's amazing what they give you for the price they sell it at. I'm just, and it works for any listing. It doesn't have to be $1 million property. It's a nice gift actually for you, an opportunity for you to give that to the buyer, whether you're the listing agent or selling agent. And I would encourage you that if you indeed do that, you would put yourself, you're listening, put yourself as a listing agent and also mention the buying agent in the same book. Isn't that nice to do that? Give
We've also got Lawver's Mortgage.
That's right. Thank you for pronouncing that correctly too. Lawver Mortgage over here. And who else did I miss? Wall Inspection Service. That's correct. So those are the three. And so, in closing, I will make one other comment in reference to what Mike alluded to earlier, also on the short sale and foreclosures. I'll give you a very quick example. You bought this property, you got a $500,000 loan on it. You end up short selling, and the short sale price was $400,000. According to IRS rules, that $100,000 is gain, because you've been relieved of that obligation to pay back that lien. So that's $100,000 that's taxable. So that's pouring salt in the wound, don't you say? I mean, you already lost your property, now you got to pay taxes on what you lost. So what this does is the feds have a forgiveness. They'll forgive that gain that you had if it was a foreclosure or short sale. The problem, like Mike alluded to, the state hasn't signed on to it. So the feds will give you that forgiveness, but the state are going to charge you currently unless Governor Brown signs that bill. And it was tied to another bill. I don't know if they untied it or not, but I think they haven't untied it. It's still there. Okay, so I don't know where that's going to go. They tied it to an inclusionary zoning bill. Oh, what bill? The who? Oh, the recording fee. Yeah, okay, the recording fee. That's right. That's the other thing. $75 recording fee is what they tied it to. Now, that $75 is a misnomer, because actually we have the statistics, and that $75 actually translates into as high as $750 for recording a transaction, which normally you go down there and for $6 you can record something. This changes that up to $750, depending on how many documents you're going to end up recording. And so it will affect your refis, or it'll affect your I think the purchase is exempt on that.
The standard
I think the purchase was exempt, but everything else, you know, that has to do with the property is vulnerable to this charge. So that's where we're looking at it, and that's where we're trying to delink that, because we certainly don't want that $75, which could end up being in excess of $700 fee to record a transaction. So with that, thank you for joining us. Yes.
Do we know where the 1290 is?
1290? Yeah, waiting for governor. Yes, right. Yeah, yeah.
And also, will we get your report on
Myron?
Yeah, you were going to get it.
Oh, I already did. I mean, this is my time. It's not him. He's gonna have a whole year. Just kidding. Myron, you have anything to say? Yeah.
There will be a great event on the 21st that I would.
That's January 21st.
January 21st. I encourage you all to come. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're planning it. We got a great committee and people working on it. It's going to be a real good time to start off our new year for a great success for everybody.
So there you go. All right, I'm coming. So okay, hey, thank you all for joining us. I'll see you again in November at our next general membership meeting. Appreciate you coming.